So now let's get started with the paper space or the layout views. So up to this point we have made all of our drawings in the model space, and model space is generally used for creating the drawings. But layout space is reserved for creating our plot settings and for creating drawings which are to be plotted. So here we have these three drawings in the model space: the floor plan, the east elevation, and the front elevation. Now in order to move to the layout view, you can go to the tab, and when the cursor goes there it will show the layout tab. So here we have this layout 1 and layout 2. So these are the default layouts which are already present. So you can switch to any of them simply by clicking on it, or you can also go to this bottom side, and here on the bottom left you'll see this layout 1 tab, layout 2 tab, and also the model tab. So you can switch in between model and layout views using these tabs. Now these tabs are generally visible by default, but if you are not able to see these tabs, you can go to the view tab here and you can activate this layout tabs option. So if this option is not active, the tabs will not be visible here. So you can click on it to make them visible. Now I'll go back to the home tab, and now let's go to this layout 1 tab here. So by default these two tabs will always be present, but if you want to add more tabs, you can simply click on this plus icon, and that will add the new tab with the default name of layout 3, layout 4, and so on. But you can change these names selectively. For example, in this case we have this layout 1. Let's say that we want to change it, and I'll change it to floor plan. So I'll just double click on this and now enter the text, and here we have it, the floor plan. Now click outside and the layout tab has been renamed. Alternatively, you can also right click on them and simply select rename option if you want. Now when you go to any of these layout tabs, for example I'll select this floor plan, and here we have some of these settings which are specifically related to the layout tabs. The first thing which you will notice is this gray background. So that's the inactive page area, and this white active area is the paper or the final page on which you will plot your drawing. So layout is simply like a preview of your final print. So here we have the page, and on this page, on this white paper, we will arrange all the components of the drawing before getting our final output. Now here we have this dotted line also. So this is the plotter margin, and anything which is beyond this plotter margin will not be plotted. This plotter margin is dependent on the type of plotter which you have selected and also on the paper size. So if you change the plotter margin will change accordingly. Currently a default paper size has been set. So in order to check the paper size or the settings of plotter, you can simply go to this floor plan, right click, and select page setup manager. Alternatively, you can also go to this layout tab, which will be active as long as you are in this layout view. So whenever you switch to any of these layout views, this layout tab will be active. Now from this layout tab, simply click on this page setup, and this page setup manager window will pop up. Here you will see all the details. For example, the plotter, which is DWG to PDF. So that's the virtual plotter which is selected. And also we have the paper size, which is 11 by 8.5 inches, and landscape mode has been selected, as you can see here. So these are the settings which are currently applied to the layout. You can absolutely change these settings, and we'll learn about changing these settings in the upcoming videos. For now, I'll simply click on close. Now here we have a viewport with this rectangular boundary. We'll learn about viewport also in a moment. For now, I'll simply select it and I'll erase it. Now we have a completely blank sheet of paper with the plotter margin, and we are free to arrange our drawing on this paper in whatever way we want. Now there are many conventions of paper sizes. The most popular one is the ISO A series. So you must be working with ISO paper sizes like A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, and so on. So these are the popular type of paper sizes which are generally used in the drawing offices, and there is a specific relation between these different kind of paper sizes. The biggest paper size in ISO A series is the A0 or the A0, and the area of that paper is 1 meter square. So the A0 paper size has an area of 1 meter square, and also if you divide the length of that paper with its width, the resulting value will be equal to √2. or 1.414. Now, this specific relation between the length and width of paper size is maintained in all of the papers of A series. So if you take any paper, for example A1, and if you divide its length with its width, the result will be √2. If you take A2 paper and divide the length by width, it will be √2, and the same convention will follow for rest of the paper sizes. Also, when you take the A0 paper and when you fold it from the center along the longer side, that paper will become A1. Similarly, if you take A1 paper and fold it from the center line along the longer side, then that will become A2. And similarly, if you fold A2 from the longer side from the center, it will become A3, then A4, and so on. So that's a specific relationship which is maintained for the ISO A series of paper. There are also some other series of paper, for example the NC series, the B series, ISO B series, and there are lots of other conventions, and all of these paper sizes will be available with your plotter. But most popularly ISO A series is used, and we'll use the same ISO A series in our examples. So that was an introduction to the paper space or the layout and different paper sizes. In this video, we'll learn about changing the settings of this current paper space or this layout, and we'll modify lots of properties related to this paper space. For example, the plotter, the paper sizes, the scales, and everything else. So for changing those properties, you can go to this layout tab, and from here select this page setup. Alternatively, you can also select the layout tab, right click and select page setup manager. So for now, I'll select this page setup option. Now this will open this page setup manager, from where you need to select the layout which you want to modify. So I need this floor plan, so I'll select it. Now click on modify, and here we have it. We have this page setup for lots of different properties related to the layout. We'll start with the printer or plotter. So right now this DWG to PDF.PC3 plotter is selected, but if you click on this drop down, you'll see lots of other plotters which are available. So if you have any plotter installed, it will be listed in this. And for now, I've selected this DWG to PDF, but you can select this publish to web JPEG file or publish to web PNG file if you want output as images in JPEG or PNG format. You can also select this XPS compatible format, and you can select other formats. For example, here we have some formats for PDF with different quality presets, so you can select them as well. For now, I'll select this DWG to PDF. Now we have this properties button which is applicable for the plotter which you have selected. So right now, if you want to modify the properties of this plotter, simply click on properties and it will be available for you to modify. For now, I'll simply click on cancel. Now we have these PDF options. So when you click on PDF options, these options will be visible, but they will only be available for PDF plotters. So right now we have selected this DWG to PDF. If you select any other PDF compatible plotter, for example, this AutoCAD PDF high quality, it will still be available. But if you select any other plotter, for example, if you select this HP ePrint, that option will not be available. So I'll select DWG to PDF, and now I'll click on PDF options. Now from here you can control the vector quality. Right now it's set to 600 dpi or 600 dots per inch. Also the raster quality is set to 400 dpi or dots per inch. Now here we have this merge control which is set to override. So this is the final output which you will get. So if you have these colored line, the overlapping line will take its color and that will proceed over the color of line which is underneath it. You can change this setting by simply selecting line merge, and you'll see the preview here. So that will be the output available for this setting. For now, I'll select this lines override. Now we have some options here. For example, the font handling option. So here, if you want to capture the fonts directly in the PDF, you can keep this option checked. But if you want to convert all the text into geometries, you can keep this option checked. For now, I'll select this capture fonts used in the drawings. Now we have some options related to layer. So if you want to include layer information, keep this checked. If you want to include hyperlink as well as bookmarks, keep these options checked as well. Now once these settings are done, click on OK. And now we have this paper size option. So from this menu, you can select your paper size. So right now we are using feet and inches or the imperial unit, we generally use ISO paper size. So I'll select ISO paper size here. So I'll select ISO A3 for this case. So right now NCA has been selected, so I'll move up in this list, and here you'll see these two different kind of ISO paper sizes. The first one is ISO full bleed. So here we have this ISO full bleed A3 paper size or different paper sizes. Let's select this A3 full bleed, and here in the preview you'll notice that we don't have any kind of margin here. So full bleed papers simply take up the complete space on your paper. But if you select normal ISO A3 paper, for example, here we have this normal ISO A3 in the landscape view, I'll select it. You'll see this small margin also which is available with that. So that's the paper size which we'll select, ISO A3 420 by 297 mm. Now we have the plot area option which is set to layout. I'll not change it, but you can change it to display or window. We also have the plot offset which we are not going to change, and here in the plot scale make sure that 1:1 scale is selected, so which is not set here in this case. So I'll not change this scale, I'll simply go to this mm and I'll change it to inches. So as we are using inches as the standard unit for this drawing, so I'll change it to inches and the scale has been set. But if it is not set, you can change it to 1:1 from this drop down. Now we have here plot style tables, and we'll learn about plot style table in the next module. Right now you can simply see all of these plot style tables which are available. If you want drawing to be plotted as black and white drawing, you can select this monochrome, or you can select acad.stb if you want to retain the same colors. You can also select none if you don't want any plot style tables. So I'll simply select acad.stb, that's the standard plot style. And also we have the quality here which is normal. You can change it to draft, preview, or high quality like presentation, maximum, or custom quality in which you can specify your own DPI value. There is a limitation to this DPI value which is dependent on the type of plotter which you have selected. So I'll simply select normal quality. Now if you want to plot object line widths, keep this checked. Want to plot the transparency, keep this one also checked. Now if you want to plot the plot styles, so these are the plot styles, so keep this also checked. And generally the paper space is plotted first. So if you want to override this setting, and if you want to plot paper space in the end, and if you want to plot model space in the beginning, you can keep this unchecked. Also we have the last option which is hide paper space objects, and this is applicable generally to the 3D drawings. So in case of 3D drawings, the hidden objects or the obscured objects will be hidden from the paper space also. So now we have the orientation which is set to portrait or landscape. You can select any of these. I'll select landscape and now click on OK. So you'll notice that this layout will respond in an appropriate way. The layout simply changed. Also the plotter margin changed accordingly because new settings are now applicable. And now if you look at this preview panel, you'll see that we have new settings, DWG to PDF plotter. Also we have the plot size which is 16.54 by 18.69 inches, and that's its equivalent in the metric which we have already selected. That's the paper size ISO A3. Now with these settings, click on close. And we have the paper size ISO A3 here. So that's the ISO A3 paper with these plotter margins. And we'll now start arranging our drawing on this layout. In this video, I will tell you about making and clipping viewports. So right now we have this layout view in which we have already set the page. We have already decided the plotter, the size of paper, and the plotter margins and other details. Now we'll add our viewports. And to add the viewport, I'll go to this layout tab. Now here in this layout tab, we have this layout viewports option here. Now on this panel, we have this rectangular. So click on this drop down and select this rectangular option. Now click at a starting point somewhere inside the plotter margins and click at the second point. Now as soon as you'll do this, you'll notice that all the components of the drawing area will be visible within these boundaries, and this is the viewport. So when you hover your cursor over this, you'll see this viewport on the tooltip. Also, when you click on the boundary, you'll see these 4 grips at the end, and using these grips you can modify the boundary of this viewport. So you can now click on this grip you can move it and that will clip the area which is visible. Now currently this viewport is on the layout, but it will behave as a model space object when you double click inside it. So when I double click inside this viewport, it will completely behave independent of the layout view. As you can see, when I'm panning my drawing here, it's panning the complete drawing and it's not affecting anything which is outside. Now in order to get rid of this, if you want to move out, simply double click outside. Now we are outside the viewport. Now if you pan your drawing, it will pan the complete drawing just like this. Now if you double click inside and if you zoom in and zoom out, that will also affect only the viewport, and if you double click outside and zoom in and zoom out, it will affect the complete layout. You can create as many viewports as you want, so I'll click on this rectangular once again and I'll click another viewport here. And here again we have the complete drawing, so it's fitted completely within the viewport and you can edit it from its boundaries. Now in this case we are adding these viewports randomly, but you can also add some named or automatically created viewports. So I'll erase both of them. So I'll select them and I'll simply erase it. So erasing the viewport will not erase your model space object. So when you go to model space, you'll still have these drawings. So I'll go to floor plan, and now here I will add some automatic viewports. So I'll go to layout, and here we have this named option. So let's select this named and go to new viewports and select from any of these presets. So we have 2 vertical. Now in this case 2 viewports will be added, 2 horizontal, 3 right, left, above, below, and all of these settings. So whatever you want you can select from this list. So I'll select this viewport configuration, click on OK. Now click at a starting point. So I'll click on this top left and I'll click on this bottom right, and all the viewports will be fitted within this area. Now in this case, as I mentioned earlier, if you double click within any of these viewports, it will activate the model space, and also all of these model space tools will be visible. Now if you modify anything within this model space, then it will also be modified in the original model space, and it will also modify all of these remaining drawings. So if you just try to add a circle, let's add it here. I'll add one circle here. You'll notice that the same circle will be added here as well as here. I'll click outside, so I'll double click here. Now I'll go to model view, and we have the circle here also. So that is simply activating the model view, and we can now remove it, and that will be removed from all of these instances of layout and model space. Now in these cases you can zoom in and zoom out this drawing, and this may even happen accidentally. So what if you don't want to change the position of objects within a viewport? In that case you can simply lock it. So right now I have set this object here, and right now you can see that only east elevation is visible in this viewport. Now let's say that we want to lock it so that the changes don't affect anything within this viewport. So for that I'll double click outside. Now I'll select the viewport boundaries, and then I'll right click and select this display locked option and select yes. Now we have this viewport completely locked. So let's double click inside. We still have these model space objects, but when I zoom in and zoom out, it will zoom out or zoom in the complete layout, not the objects within the viewport. You can not only log and unlock this viewport from the right contextual menu, but you can do that from the layout tab also. So go to the layout tab, and now as you know that this viewport is locked, so when I zoom in and zoom out, it is completely locked. So in order to unlock it, go to this layout viewports panel and select this unlock option. Now select the viewport which you want to unlock. In this case I want to select this one, so I'll select it and now press enter. Now it is unlocked. So now if you zoom in or zoom out, it will affect the complete drawing within this layout. So I'll double click outside, and now we have this layout view deactivated. You can also clip viewports to show some of the selected regions. For example, here we have this viewport. Let's double click within this and I'll zoom into this area. Now let's say that we only want to show this main hall and we don't want all of these objects. For that you can simply drag these boundaries. So I'll double click outside and I'll select the boundary, or I'll just simply drag it like this. So you can do that, or there is an alternate method also. So using that alternate method, you can simply create a new boundary, and that will be shown instead of this viewport. So I'll double click outside and I'll select this clip option. Now select the viewport which you want to clip. In this case, I want to select this one. Now press enter. Now specify the starting point. So this will be the starting point somewhere over here. Now the second point, the third point, the fourth one, and in this case, if you want, you can select a little bit random shape also. So I'll simply click on this point and then on this point. Now this is the boundary which we want finally. So I'll press enter and you'll notice that the boundaries will be clipped just like this and that viewport will be removed. So that's the main hall which we have in our view. You can not only make your viewports in rectangular shape, but you can also make them of very random shapes. So I'll remove all of these viewports for now. And now I'll go to this rectangular option once again. And now I'll select this polygonal option. Now you can create a polygon. So I'll start with this point. Then I'll click at this point. Then this point. Now I'll select arc, because we can make an arc with this polygon option. Now I'll track this point. I'll click here. Now I'll select line and I'll click at this point and press enter. Now we have a completely random shape of viewport. As you can see here, you can double click inside and that viewport will be active. Let's double click outside. So you can not only make it with the polygon, but you can also use objects. So I'll go to home tab. I'll select a circle. Let's say that we want a circular viewport. I'll do that. I'll make a circle. Let's get back to layout. Now select the drop down and select object. Now click on this circle and we have a new viewport, a circular one. So double click inside and we have it here just like this. Let's double click outside to deactivate it. In all of these situations, the objects within the viewport will always remain visible, but you can hide them temporarily if you want. For example, if you don't want to show any of these objects within the circular viewport, simply select the viewport boundary, right click and select display viewport objects. In this option, select no. And now all the objects within the viewport will be hidden, even though the viewport is still there, but nothing will be visible. In order to make it visible again, select it, right click, go to display viewport objects and select yes. And the objects within the viewport are again visible. So it's all about making our viewports and clipping them. In this video, we'll learn about one of the very important concepts of layout, which is setting the scale, and understanding the scales in viewport is quite important. So here we have this A3 size layout and here we have this floor plan layout active. Also we have this layout 2 and layout 3. Now in all of these layouts, A3 paper size has been activated. Now I'll go to this floor plan layout and now go to this layout tab and I'll make a new viewport here. So go to this layout viewports panel, select the drop down, select rectangular. Now click at this point and I'll drag it and I'll add it up to this point. Okay, so here we have it. Now we don't know the scale of the objects here. We don't know the size here. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll simply double click inside and I'll zoom into this area and I'll try to fit this floor plan completely in our drawing. Okay, now this one is fitted, but still the exact scale of this drawing is not yet known. Now in this case, when you activate any of these viewports, right now you can see that this viewport is active as I can select these objects here. And after activating the viewport, when you go to this status bar, you'll see this scale option. Now from here we can change the scale of this viewport. So click on this option and you'll see this menu. Now here we have all of these scales available. So right now you can just change it to any of these values. So I'll select this 1:30 and that's quite big. So I'll change it once again. I'll change it to 1:50 and that looks just appropriate. So I'll just pan this drawing a little bit and I'll ensure that the accidental zoom in or zoom out does not happen. And now look at the scale on the status bar. It's still 1:50. That means we have the correct scale. Now double click outside and here we have it. We have the exact scale set for this viewport. So right now the size of this paper is obviously A3 size and the size of this object is 1:50. So you can mention that scale directly on the title block here, or you can do that with these viewports, which we'll do in a moment. So we have the first viewport prepared. Now let's go to the second one here. Now here we have this viewport, simply erase it. Now here we'll add more viewports. So I'll start with the rectangular and I'll add the first viewport here. Let's make it of this size. And here we will try to fit this front elevation. So I'll fit this front elevation just like this. So again, we don't know the scale, so I'll change it to some appropriate value. So I'll go to this scale option and I'll change it to 1:50 once again. And that looks just appropriate. So I'll keep it at that way. Now double click outside and let's create another viewport. So I'll select this point and I'll click somewhere over here and make sure all of these viewports are within the plotter margin. Now I'll double click inside, I'll zoom into this area, the east elevation, and I'll set its scale. So I'll once again go to this option, I'll change it to 1:50, and this looks just right, but we can still change its scale. So here I'll click on this menu and here we have 1:50, but we have limited number of options here. For example, we only have 1:40, 30, 20, 16 and 10. What if we want to add some other scale? For example, if you move up here, we don't have 1:60. So if you want to decrease the size, we don't have 1:60 or 1:70 scale. So those scales can be added directly for our new viewport. So I'll click here and now I'll try to add a new scale. So we just want to decrease its size and we want it to be of 1:70 scale. Now for that, I'll go to this model view and click on this scale. Here also we have the scale visible. Now select this custom option. Now here we have list of all the scales which are available. Simply select add and give it a name. So I'll name it as 1:70. Now here we need one paper unit to be equal to 70 drawing unit. So that's the unit which we'll set, 1:70, and then click on OK and OK. Now the scale has been added. Let's go to this layout 2 and once again double click inside this viewport, go to this option and here we have 1:70, the custom scale. Let's click on it and we have it now added, and you'll see that the size of this object or this east elevation will decrease appropriately. Now I'll double click outside and here we have it. Now in this case, if you want to adjust the scale or the viewport, you can do that simply. So I'll select the boundary and I'll adjust it just like this, and I'll also move it somewhere over here. Now let's move to the third layout. So I'll go to layout 3 and here we'll add a detail view. So I'll select the boundary of this layout, erase it, and once again I'll go to layout tab, select the rectangular option, and I'll create a new viewport here. Now in this case, we want the kitchen in detail view. So I'll double click inside, I'll go to floor plan, and here we have the kitchen. So let's zoom into this area. Now we'll change it to appropriate scale. Right now we have a random scale. So I'll go to this scale option and let's change it to 1:10. Well, that's quite large. I'll change it to something small, which is 1:20, let's say 20. And that looks quite perfect. So I'll just adjust it within this viewport here. Okay. Now this looks appropriate. So now double click outside and we have this kitchen completely in our view. So if you want to modify its boundaries even further, you can do that. For example, I'll remove that text and I'll move it somewhere over here like this. Now we have prepared 3 different layouts along with the model view. So we have the floor plan here. We have the layout 2, which has the front elevation and east elevation. So I'll rename it. So I'll right click and select rename and I'll rename it as elevation. Now I'll go to layout 3 and I'll rename it as detail. So we have all of these 3 layouts. Now we can add scales also with these viewports. So right now we have the first viewport here, which we have set, and the scale for this viewport was 1:50. So when you select the viewport boundary, you'll see this scale here, 1:50. So if you want the same information to be presented here, you can use fields. For fields, I'll go to insert tab. So let's press escape, go to insert tab and select field. Now we have this field window. Let's select objects from this drop down. Now from the field names, select this object option. Now click on this select object box. Now click on the viewport boundary, and all the properties which are related to the viewport will be listed in this property box. Now we need scale, so I'll select this custom scale option. And we have the formats, so different formats are listed here. You can select from any of these. I'll select this format, and the preview can be seen here quite clearly. So we have 1:50 scale. Now click on OK and add that value. So right now you can see that the text is very small as it is taking the properties of its current text style. So you can change it. So I'll erase it, and now I'll go to Home tab. I'll expand the annotation. Here we have the text. Let's click on this text style, and here we have the text height. So right now you can see that the standard text is active. I'll change its value and I'll change it to 0.4 inches. Now click on apply, click on close, and we'll once again add the field here. So once again go to insert, go to field. We have the same set of options already selected. Click on the box, select the viewport, custom scale, the scale, and OK. Now we have it of appropriate size here. So you can change the size of your text, and you can change its property, and that will automatically be taken up by the field. So we have here the scale. Similarly, you can add this scale for other viewports. So in this viewport also, you can click on field, click on object type, select the viewport boundary, custom scale, and OK. And here we have it. The scale has been added here. You can do the same for this and the remaining viewports. So this was all about setting the scale of different objects in the viewports. In this video, I will tell you about managing layer visibility in viewports. So we have made this drawing and we have added lots of different viewports in different layouts. In the previous lesson, we have also added this elevation layout in which we have these two different viewports. In the first one, we have the front elevation, and here we have the east elevation. Now, all of these drawings are currently assigned on different layers, and the layer property will behave uniformly for all of these drawings as they are connected directly with the model space. So if you go to model space, and here if you change the layer assignment of any one of the object, for example in this case we have the blocks, let's go to the drop down, and for this block layer I'll turn it off, the visibility, and all of the blocks in this floor plan, the east elevation and the front elevation will be turned off, so that will affect uniformly. Now I'll turn it on and I'll move back to the layout. So here in the layout view we have some different settings also. So using these settings we can change the properties of specific viewports only. To explain this, I'll just move this layout over here, and then I'll click on Layer Properties Manager. Now this palette will pop up. Here we have the common properties of the layer, and if you change any of these properties, it will universally change the property of objects in all of these viewports. But when you scroll this layer property manager a little bit over here, you'll see some properties which are specific to the viewports. Right now you may not be able to see the name tag, so right click on any one of them and select this maximize all columns. So that will maximize it, and now you'll be able to see the name of these columns. So here we have this new VP freeze or new viewport freeze, and here we have the viewport freeze. So let's select this one, and here you can simply see the block and its viewport freeze option. So let's now freeze the visibility of this blocks layer. So before that we need to activate the viewport. So I'll double click on this viewport, and this viewport is now active. Now click on this VP freeze and look at the blocks. So we don't have the block here. Also the second block has been removed, but we still have the block here, although they are on the same layer. So right now this change is affecting only this viewport. So I'll double click outside, and now I'll move to this text layer. So in this case we have text in both of these viewports. Let's click on this one, and now they are on both same layers. So I'll turn off this, so I'll freeze it, and here the text has been hidden. But in this case, in this layout, the text is still visible. So in this way, we can change the properties selectively for different viewports using these layer options. You can not only change these options, the freeze and thaw option, but you can also change some other options which are related to the viewport. For example, I'll just scroll it a little bit towards right side, and here we have the viewport line weight option. Here in this case, let's say that we want to change the line weight of this viewport. So I'll double click here, and now here we have this zero layer. I'll change its line weight and I'll assign a line weight of 0.5 mm. Click on OK, double click outside. Now the line weight of objects in this viewport are changed. So when you zoom into this, you'll notice the difference. In this case, the line weight can be clearly seen, and here we have the normal default line weight, and the difference is quite visible now. So I'll once again double click inside, and I'll change the line weight to its default value and click on OK. Now double click outside. So now let's click on this close icon to close the layer properties manager. In most of the cases, this viewport boundary is a big distraction, and we may not want this viewport boundary to be visible in many of the cases. So in order to hide these viewports, you can use a workaround. So you can create a new layer. So I'll go to layer properties manager. I'll click on this new layer and I'll give it a name. So I'll name it as VP. Press enter. Now you can put these objects, the viewport boundaries, on the VP layer. And now you can freeze this VP layer. So click on the drop down and freeze it. Now we don't have the viewport boundary. We still have the object. If you double click here, the viewport will be active. You can zoom in, zoom out, or you can do other modifications, but the viewport boundary is now invisible. So double click outside and we have only these clean drawings. So in this way, you can change the layer assignments selectively for different viewports in AutoCAD. In this video, I will tell you about adding title block to the AutoCAD drawings. So right now we have these drawings and the layouts without any title block or other information, and you can add your title block directly to the layouts by making them on these empty areas. So you can use this draw panel and modify panel to make new drawings here. You can add that using line, polyline and different commands. But there is also a different way by which you can import the already made title block templates. So we have a title block on the desktop. I have it here. I have already made this title block and I'll use it in this video. So let's go back to the drawing and we'll insert that title block. So to insert the title block, I'll go to this insert tab and I'll click on this insert button and select more options. Now click on browse and locate the title block. So we have it here on the desktop. Now click on open. With the default settings, I'll click on OK, and here we have it. The title block is now added. So carefully place it within these plotter margins. And here we have it. Right now, this title block has been made specifically for A3 paper size, and that's why it's fitting completely within these boundaries. But in order to have title blocks for different paper sizes, you need to make them, or you can also scale any one title block for different paper sizes. Now in this case, this is a block, and in order to use it properly, you need to explode it. So I'll select it and then I'll type X and press enter. So that will explode it, and now we can modify different parts of the title block, or we can add more information. Similarly, if you go to the elevation here also, if you want to add it, now you can simply go to this insert and select the title block from this list. Here we have it because we have already added it once. Select it, specify the base point, which is somewhere over here, and we have the title block and all the other information within this drawing. AutoCAD also has some ready-made title blocks for you, and these are available with the drawing templates. So if you want to use those templates with title block, simply go to this plus icon right beside the layout tabs, then right click and select this from template. Now this will open this template window, and here you can select the template which has title block. For example, here we have the Imperial Architectural template on which we have the title block. Also we have the manufacturing template, the metric architectural and metric manufacturing template. So I'll select this Imperial Architectural template, click on OK, and we have this new D size layout added here. So in this case, obviously the plot size is different, the paper size is different, and the viewport is here. We have this object here. In order to see this clearly, you need to first unlock it. So I'll just select this, then I'll right click, I'll go to display logged, and I'll select no. Now double click inside, and here we have it. Now we can move it here in this drawing area, double click outside, and we have it just like simple drawing. And we also have this title block here. Also you can select it and explode it once, and now you can modify different fields of this title block, but you need to change the paper size, because in this case we don't know the paper size of this title block, and it will be set according to the template. So for now I'll simply erase this D size layout. So this was all about inserting our own title block and other information in AutoCAD drawings. So now we have made all the final settings in our drawing. We have arranged the different views and layouts, and we've also prepared the model space. Now it's the time to get final output. So we can get final output directly as a paper, or we can also plot our drawings in PDF format, or we can also plot it in XPS, JPEG, PNG, or other formats. Now here we'll start plotting our drawing from the model space. So right now we have this drawing here in model space, and in order to plot it, you can simply use the command shortcut Control P. So when you press Control P, it will open this plot window. Now there are also alternate methods of accessing this, and you can do that by clicking on this plot icon on the quick access toolbar. Alternatively, you can also go to this application button, select the print option, and then plot. So these are different options that you can use to plot your drawings. But before plotting these drawings, we'll create a page setup, and we'll use that page setup for plotting. So to create the page setup, go to this output tab and click on page setup manager. Now here we have this model space. So obviously we don't want this one. We want to create our own page setup. For that, I'll click on new, and I'll give it a name. So let's name it as our setup, and let's click on OK. So here we have this our setup page setup. Now we have the first setting, which is printer or plotter. So right now none is selected, so you can select any of these printers. So you need to select a printer here in order to get the plot in your desired output. For example, if you want your drawing in PDF format, you can select this Microsoft Print to PDF or DWG to PDF, or there are some other plotters like these 4 plotters which have some quality preset already defined, so you can select them also. But for this case, I'll select this DWG to PDF. Now we have the properties options for this plotter, so you can change the properties related to the selected plotter from this properties window, and I'm not going to change anything as of now, so I'll simply close it. And here we have these PDF options. So when you click on this PDF options, the PDF options for the selected plotter will be available, and this will only appear as long as you have selected a PDF compatible plotter. So in this case, we can set the vector quality or the raster image quality, the lines override type, and the font handling capabilities. Either you want to capture it or you want to convert it into text, so you can select from any of these options. So I'll select the fonts in the PDF file. So that's quite helpful if you are using some custom fonts and you want to include them directly in the PDF file. Also, you can include the layer information by checking this checkbox, and you can include hyperlinks as well as bookmarks. Now click on OK, and the next setting is paper size. So here let's select ISO A3. And now we have an important setting here, which is the plot area. So in this case, display is selected, and right now whatever is displayed in the drawing area will be plotted. Now in order to see the final output, simply click on preview button, and you'll see the final output here. So this is the output which we'll get, and right now the drawing is not quite centered. It's somewhere in the downward side of this paper, so we'll make it centered. So I'll close it, and now to make it centered, I'll click on this checkbox. So that will center our drawing. Now click on preview, and we have it now centered on the paper. Now let's close it. We also have some other options here. For example, from this drop down, we can select extends, so that will fit our drawing in the display area, and then that will plot it. So once I've selected extends, I'll click on preview again, and there we have it. The drawing is fitted completely up to the margins and it is now plotted. Let's close it, and now let's look at this window option. So when you select this window option, you will be provided with an option to select a window, and all the drawing components which are within that window will be plotted. So I'll make this window, and we have the drawing here in the printable area. Now when you look at the preview, you'll see that the drawing is completely fitting within the paper as indicated by these hatch marks. So that's an indicator that your drawing is fitted properly. But in order to fit it properly, certain scale of the drawing has been applied automatically. So when you go to this plot scale, you'll see that a scale of 1 by 1.6 has been applied automatically. That's because we have selected this fit to paper option. So let's uncheck it. Now when you uncheck it, you will be able to use this drop down. So using this drop down, you can change the scale. So right now we have 1 by 1.6 unit as the scale. So I'll simply change it to 1:2, and here's the final output. So that's what we are going to get. Now let's try and change it to 1:1, and that's simply indicating that it will overflow the paper and lots of the parts of this drawing will be clipped. So that's not the correct scale. I'll simply change it to 1:2. You can even try some smaller values, for example 1:4, and that looks quite small. So I'll keep it at 1:2. Okay, so that's the final scale, and this scale can be indicated in the title block also. Now we have the plot style tables, so you can use these colored plot style table, any of them, whichever you want, and we'll learn about plot style table in a moment. For now, I'll keep it at none, and here we have the quality preset. I'll keep it at normal. We want to plot object line weight, we want to plot transparency also, we want it in landscape view. Now click on OK. So here we have this our setup, which is now completely configured. So currently you can see that this our setup is not set as the current layout. So in order to make it your current setup, you can simply double click on this, and now our setup has been set as the current page setup. You can also do that by selecting this set current option. Now let's close it, and now let's go and plot the drawing. So I'll go to this plot option, and here you'll see this our setup. Now we don't need to make any of these settings, we have already done that. Now you can simply click on preview, and this will show this warning message. That's because the annotation scale or the scales of annotative objects like text, hatches, dimensions are different. So in this case, you can see here that the annotative scale is set to 1:1, but the actual drawing scale is set to 1:2. So these two values are different. That's why we are seeing this message, but we have not applied any annotative object in this case. So you can simply click on continue. And here we have the final output. So now our drawing is ready to plot. So I'll close it, and I'll click on OK. Now once again, click on continue, specify the location. So I'll save it as drawing 1, click on save, and here we have it. The drawing has been plotted from the model view. We have the layer assignment here. All the layers are available. You can check their visibility by turning them on or off, and we are good to go. So let's close it. So in this way, we can plot our drawings from model view. So now we have already seen how to plot our drawings from model space. In this video, we'll learn to plot it from the layout view or the paper space. So I'll move to this floor plan, and in this layout, we have all the objects arranged properly. Now, in order to plot only this layout, simply go to the layout tab, right click and select plot. Alternatively, you can also use the keyboard equivalent Control P, or you can also select this plot icon. Now here also we have all the properties set for this layout, which we have already assigned while making this layout. And in order to plot it, simply you can click on OK. So before plotting, I'll click on preview to see a preview of this, and that's the preview here. So let's close it. Now click on OK and go to desktop, and let's give it a name. So let's name it as layout 2, and I'll click on save. So here we have it. the layout has been plotted. Now in a similar way, you can plot other layouts from this drawing. But in that case, you need to plot all of these layouts one by one, and that may be very time consuming task if you have lots of different layouts here. So AutoCAD has a direct method of plotting multiple layouts directly using the publish option. So if you want to plot multiple sheets, you can use the publish tool. So in order to access the publish tool, go to this application button. Now select this print option and select this batch plot. Now we have this publish window here. Now we can make settings. The first setting is sheet list, which we don't have any. So I'll just keep it at none. Here we have the publish to, which I'll select as PDF. We want output as PDF file. Also, we have the quality preset, which we can change from here. So if you want high quality print, you can select here. You can also select the publish option. So I'll click on this publish options, and here you can specify the location where you want to save your drawing. So I'll keep it at desktop, and I'll not change any of these settings because we also want the fonts to be captured. We want the layer information on all these settings. Now click on OK, and here we have the drawings which will be plotted. So we have the model space which will be plotted, and also these three layouts. Also, they will be plotted with their default page setup. Now, in case you want to change page setup for any of them, you can simply click on this drop down and change their page setup. For example, here in this case, we have this our setup, which we have created in the previous video. You can change it to that, or you can keep its own page setup. For now, I'll select this our setup only for model space. For rest of the options, I'll keep it at their default value. Now, simply click on publish option. Specify the location, give it a name. So I'll name it as publish and click on select, and we don't want to save this list, so I'll click on no. So now AutoCAD will do this job in the background, and as long as this drawing is being published, you'll see this small animated icon here on the bottom of this status bar. So as long as the publishing job is happening, it will be visible like this. Okay, and here we have the bubble. So now the publishing job is complete. So I'll go to desktop, and here we have the publish file. So let's double click on it, and here we have it. So we have the model space as per our plot style, which we have set, and also we have the floor plan 1, the elevation, and the detail according to our page setup. So in this way, you can plot multiple sheets along with the model space directly using the publish option of AutoCAD. In this video, I will tell you about plotting your drawings with different colored plot style tables. So the plot style tables or the pen assignments are the different settings for your plotter, and using these assignments you can tell plotter to plot your drawing in a very specific way. For example, here we have this drawing with lots of different colors and line weight, line types, and other settings. Now let's say that we want to plot this drawing in monochrome. You can use a different plot style, monochrome plot style to be exact, to plot this drawing. So although the drawing will be completely colored, but when you'll send it to a plotter, it will be printed as a black and white or a monochrome drawing. In a similar way, you can add different plot style table. For example, all the text in this drawing is currently red. If you want to change it, if you want to change the color of this text in the plot assignment or in the plot style, you can assign it as green, and all the text in this drawing will be plotted as green, even though it will remain red in this drawing. So we will learn to make our own colored plot style table, but before that we'll check the current plot table assignment of this drawing. So you can check the plot style which is assigned to this drawing by going to the options window. So right click anywhere in the drawing area and select this options. Now here go to this plot and publish tab and click on plot style table settings. Now we have this plot style table settings, and here you'll see these two radio buttons. The first one is use color dependent plot style. Second one is use name plot style. So here in this case, color dependent has been selected. So that's the plot style which we have. Now let's click on OK and OK again. Now I'll go to the plot option, and here we have all the settings already configured for us. So we don't need to change any of these settings. Now let's say that we want to first preview the drawing in this current situation. So for that I'll click on preview, and that's the final output which we'll get. Now let's close it. And now let's change the first plot style. So here we have this plot style table menu. Now click on this menu and select a different plot style. So in this case, I'll select this grayscale.ctb. So CTB is the extension for colored plot style table. So I'll select it. Now I'll click on preview, and here we have it. Now, although the drawing is still colored, still we have this black and white preview in which the transparency or the screening effect has already been applied depending upon the intensity of color. Now let's close it. And now let's say that we don't want the intensity of color to change. We want them to remain uniform while plotting a black and white drawing. For that, we can select monochrome. So let's select monochrome, click on preview, and here we have it. The intensity of color remain uniform in all of these different parts of the drawing, and still we have this black and white drawing. Now let's close it. And now let's look at other options here. So we have the screening option. So you can screen it by 75% by selecting this 25% screening. So in that case, if you select 25% screening, the drawing will dim by 75%. Here the 50% dimming, here the 25% dimming. So I'll select this screening 75, click on preview, and there we have it. So now the drawing has been dimmed to 25%. If you change it to, let's say, 25, it will be dimmed even further. And here we have it, a completely dimmed drawing. So in this way, you can change lots of different settings. So these are some of the predefined colored plot style table. Now, if you want to create your own plot style table, simply click on the menu and select this new option. Now you'll see this wizard. From here, you need to select the appropriate options. So I'll start with this option, start from scratch. Now click on next, and we'll give it a name. So let's name it as test, and click on next. Now we have this plot style table editor. Click on this button, and here we have this general tab in which all the information related to this is listed. You can add a description if you want. Here we have the table view of the settings and the form view. So these two have same information but in different view. So I'll select this form view. Now here we can select the color and assign their properties here. So I'll start with the cyan. So here we have the cyan color as color 4, and we want this cyan color to be plotted as something else. So I'll go to color and I'll select this select color option, and let's select this orange type of color, a saffron type. Click on OK. So that's quite recognizable. Now if you want, you can also assign some line weight to this. So I'll go to use object line weight and I'll change it to 0.5. Okay, so these are the two settings which we have changed, but obviously you can change lots of different settings here. Now I'll click on save and close, and I'll click on finish. So now we have created our own test.ctb plot style. Now let's see how our plot will look with this plot style table. So I'll click on preview, and here we have it. All the blocks which were cyan in color are now changed, and also their line weights are changed appropriately. Now let's click on close, and let's click on OK to plot this drawing with these settings. So I'll select 2 as the name, and I'll click on save. And here we have it, the final output as per the settings which we have applied here. So as you can see here clearly that we have applied a different line weight for this drawing. So the line weight has been retained. If you compare it with the line weight of this block, you can clearly see the difference. So let's now close it, and let's click on close here on this bubble as well. So that was all about creating the colored plot style table in AutoCAD. In the previous lesson, I told you about creating the colored plot style table, and using that color plot style table, we have changed different properties of this plot. Now we have the same drawing, but in this case, instead of using a colored plot style table, I'll use a named plot style table. And using a named plot style table, you can assign the properties directly to the objects or to the layers. So right now, I'll once again check the color assignment of this drawing. So I'll right click anywhere, click on options, and here click on plot style table settings from plot and publish tab. And here you can see that we have this color dependent plot style selected. So obviously the drawing will be either a color dependent plot style table or a named plot style. So you can only keep one of these settings active at a time. So I'll select this use named plot style and now click on OK. So we are essentially converting this drawing containing a colored plot style table into a named plot style table drawing. I'll click on OK. Now we'll use the command convert CTB to convert the already created file, which was test CTB, to a named plot style. So I'll type convert CTB and press enter. Now select the colored plot style which we have created in the previous lesson. So in the previous lesson we have selected this test. So that's the plot style, the colored plot style or the CTB plot style which we need. Now click on open. And now it will ask you to specify the name of new named plot style. In this case you can see the extension has changed to STB. So we'll keep the same name and now click on save. And it will show you this message that it is successfully created. Now click on OK. And we have converted our colored plot style table to a named plot style table, but we still have one more step. The drawing is not yet properly converted. So in order to convert this drawing also, you need to use the command convert p styles. So type the command, press enter, and now it will again warn you that you should convert your CTB file into a STB before using this command. So we have already done that. Now click on OK, and it will prompt you to select the named plot style which you want to apply. So we want this test plot style, and now click on open. So there we have it. Now the drawing is fully converted to a named plot style table, and it's using a test.stb named plot style. Now I'll go to this plot, and here you'll notice that instead of CTB plot styles we have these STB. So now you can use these plot style tables in your drawing. So we have this test.stb. Let's now select it and let's see the preview. So I'll click on preview, and there we have it. So this is the preview which we will get using this plot style. But if you want to modify the properties of this plot style, you can do that. So I'll simply click on close. Now I'll select the test.stb and I'll click on this box right beside that, and it will open the editor of this STB file. Now we have the normal style, the style 1 and the style 2. So in the style 2 we have assigned this color. So let's change this color, and I'll change it to magenta. Now I'll keep rest of these settings as they were. I'll not change it, and I'll simply click on save and close. Now let's click on preview, and there we have it. The color is now changed. So let's now click on close, and let's click on OK and plot the third drawing. So here we have it. Click on save, and it is plotted in the PDF output. So up to this point you might have found that CTB and STB are quite similar and almost there is no difference, but now here comes the difference. In case of colored plot style table, you were restricted to use them from the plot window. You are not allowed to change the properties selectively, but in this case you can change the properties selectively. For example, here we have the viewport. Let's select it, and now I'll change the properties of this viewport. So right click, go to properties, and here on this properties you'll see this plot style. Let's click on this and change it to style 2. Now click on close and press escape. Now I'll go to plot, and let's click on preview, and there we have it. So if you look at the boundary, you'll notice that it will now take the plot style which we have assigned. Similarly, when you go inside this drawing, you'll notice that this carpet boundary is now currently set as its default. We'll change it also. So let's cancel it. Let's double click inside, click on the carpet boundary, right click, go to properties. Once again I'll go to plot style, and I'll change it to style 2. Now close it, press escape, double click outside, go to plot and the preview, and there we have it. the property is now changed for that carpet. So in this way you can selectively apply it on different objects. So that's the basic difference between a colored and named plot style table. So with these settings, let's click on OK and let's plot the final PDF drawing. So I'll select the name as 04, click on save. There we have it, the final drawing here as a PDF output. So let's close it. And this was all about creating a named plot style table and assigning it to different objects in AutoCAD. Okay, so here we have our question related to this module. Here you need to open 17.1 sample drawing, which is available with the lesson file downloads, and you need to publish this drawing or batch plot this drawing and all of its layouts in a single PDF file. And you need to ensure that layouts use default page setup and the model space uses our setup page setup. So here we have this 17.1 sample drawing. Now in order to go to the publish dialog box, select this application button and go to this print option and select batch plot. Now here we have this published dialog box and here we have 17.1 sample model, 17.1 layout and layout 2. Also we need to plot it in PDF output. So I'll select this PDF option from the publish to option. Now here we need to ensure that model space is plotted with our setup page setup. So here in the page setup drop down, select this our setup, and for rest of these I'll not change anything. Now with all of these default values, simply click on publish. Specify location, which is desktop obviously, and select no, we don't want to save this list, and wait for a couple of minutes. Now this publishing job will progress in the background, so I'll close it, and here you can see the animated publish icon. Okay, so here we have it, the final drawing is now published, although we have some errors and warnings in the drawing. So you can see the final report, we have these warnings here, you can check them, you can correct these warnings, but for now I'll simply ignore it, simply close it, and now select the drawing. So here we have 17.1 sample drawing, and here it is. So this is the model layout, the layout 1 and layout 2, all published in a single PDF file.